In Florida, over 85,000 youth are caught in this web. This is the story of two of them. You've always known yourself as American, but suddenly you learn you are not a citizen of the United States, that you could face deportation to a country you never knew. What would you do? Do you commit to find a way to earn your citizenship? After all, this is your country, the only country you know, the only country you love.
When we first arrived in May of 1989, I was a year old, 12 months old. We had been, I'm 24 in this country in 23 years now, long time. But when we first arrived, we arrived in New York City, and of course I didn't understand visas or immigration laws or borders. I was a year old. I barely even knew how to say hello. When I was 15 years old was really when my whole life started to change. It was really when I was 15, it was on my birthday. That's when I found out that I didn't have the same privileges as my friends. That's when I found out that I was undocumented, that I wasn't American. And I remember getting up really early that morning, and I was really excited because I wanted to get my permit. That big next step for when you're 15 years old. Oh, I want to drive. And so I remember running to my parents' bedroom, and I said, "Hey, Mom, Dad, it's 8 o'clock. We're gonna be late. The lines are gonna be long. Come on, let's go." And I remember my mom. She looked over at my dad, and she looked at me, and she said, "Son, we got to talk to you. We can't take you. You can't get your license." I said, "Well, what do you mean? Why not?" And my mom said, "Well, you're not American. You don't have papers. You're not supposed to be here. You don't belong here." And I didn't really understand what that meant. And I remember going back to my room, and I sat on my bed, and I just felt the tears come, and I thought to myself, how am I not American? I was alphabetized in English. This is my first language. How can I not be able to do these things that are elementary things in our society? And I remember having to go back to school and having to lie to my friends and say, I can't drive because, oh, well, I'm too busy with schoolwork right now. I don't have time to go to the DMV. Or, no, I can't get a car because my parents can't afford one. Or, having to just say that I was somebody that I wasn't, or having to mask who I truly was.
I came here because my parents had back in Mexico, they used to have a big job. It had many places in different parts of the republic, and because of it, there was a lot of income of money. So the way things were going, we were starting to get blackmail and stuff like that, saying that if my dad didn't pay such and such quote, I was gonna get injured, or it was gonna look like an accident, or my mom was gonna happen something to her. My dad, he valued more his family than he valued all the money that was coming in. So he decided to sell everything, to leave everything, and come over here. So we came here, and we came from having a huge house with 2 floors to living in a home where there was nothing but a couch, and 1 mattress, and not even a spoon. So it was a radical change, but I think it made us all humble, very humble, because you realize that you have to take care of who you have with you, not the material things that you have at the moment. I was transferred to my high school, which was Manatee High School. There I also realized that regular classes were not just enough for me. So I had the advanced classes. I had some AP classes, and I had honors classes. And since I decided, ever since I was a little kid, that I was going to be a doctor, I realized that school had a medical academy. So I entered the medical academy, and I graduated as a CMAA, which is a Certified Medical Administrative Assistant. And I graduated with enough classes to pass as a CNA, which is a Certified Nurse Assistant. I realized that I couldn't get a learner's permit. I learned that I couldn't drive. I learned that I couldn't go to college, which is a next step for me because I have always been so concentrated on my school. I assumed that was the next step when I graduated high school, and I realized I couldn't. It was heartbreaking.
They appreciate the value of an education. They want to become productive citizens and give back.
I've always been very studious. My parents, they've always told me, son, there's three things that people can't take away from you in life, and that's hope, education, and it's faith. I sat down with my guidance counselor, and I said, I don't have papers, and I want to go to college. What can I do? What are my options to go to school? I want to get an education. I want to get a higher education. And I remember my guidance counselor, she shuffled some papers on her desk, looked through my transcript on her computer, and she turned to me and she said, son, I don't know what to tell you, but you're illegal, and you may as well get a job on a farm. There's no options for you. My dream was to become an attorney, and it still is my dream to become an attorney. I've always had a passion to help others. I've always had a passion to defend people, to help those that don't have the tools to help themselves. And I think inherently, I find that to be God's gift in my heart, is that love for others and love for other human beings that I've always had, I think, my entire life. And
I realized that my dream and my struggles were only a part of what this country is going through. I realized that my necessity to go to college was not only a hope for a better future, but it was a big movement because I need to be able to become a neurosurgeon because I want to help. And to me, having everything stop, it's really, it's hard because every morning you wake up thinking, I could be doing so much right now and I can't, because I cannot go to college. Yes, I can go to the State College of Florida here, of course, but I will have to pay an out-of-state tuition, which means paying twice or even 3 times of what a regular student pays.
It may sound incredible, but this nightmare is a reality for thousands of teens and young adults throughout America. The system is out of date. It fails to meet the country's needs. It's creating problems and separating families.
My dad was driving without a valid license because he couldn't renew his license because he was undocumented. And he was pulled over, and he was arrested and placed in at the local precinct here in Orlando, 33rd and John Young, and they held him there for about 2 weeks and then transferred him to an immigration detention center in South Florida, the Broward Transitional Center, where they held him for 10 months. So for about a year, my dad was in prison for driving without a valid license. And then after 20 years of working and paying taxes each year and contributing to this country, my dad was deported back to Brazil, and my family felt like we had the floor ripped out from underneath us. And I remember my sister, who was 15 at the time, and like I said, she's a U.S. citizen and born in New York in '94, and I remember her each night in her room, crying, and I used to think to myself, there's nothing I can do to stop this. I'm powerless against this. My family's being torn apart, and there's nothing I can do. The one thing that really held us together during that time was our faith. It was our faith. It was our church. I think that without that support network, without the love of God, and without His mercy, I think I don't know where I would be today. I don't know where I don't know what my mom would be doing, what my sister would be doing. Just last year in September, it's about 6 months ago now, my father was hospitalized in Brazil for a blood clot in his leg. And my dad passed away on the operating table. And I hadn't seen my dad in 4 years. And I couldn't even bury my father. I couldn't attend a funeral. I'm sorry. And I had always thought, that we would be together one day. We need to look at our faith values. We're all one in the body of Christ. And our faith values teach us that every human being has dignity. It teaches us that family is the cornerstone of love. The cornerstone for success is being together with family. It's having your family members present when you need them. My faith has taught me that, we're born in this world with our family at our side. And when we pass into eternity, we should pass with them at our side. They should be there. And my dad, he died alone. But I also know that he's in a place today where there are no borders. And that brings a little comfort to me, but it's still painful. It's painful to think that this is happening all across our country. That kids are being placed in foster care because their parents are being taken away.
But this nightmare is a reality for thousands of teens and young adults throughout America. They have hope, and it's hope that keeps them going.
I am here struggling with one obstacle when I know another one is coming up. Even if I know all these problems are happening, I'm still looking forward for it because I want it. And it really doesn't matter how hard it gets, because I know that since I could defy a big obstacle, which was I cannot work because I have undocumented, and now I can work, I know that I can do it. I know that I can go to college. I know that I can study medicine. I know that I can get the best scholarships. I know that I can probably even go to Harvard or schools like that, because I know I have the capacity to do so. I just know that I can and I will become a great neurosurgeon if I only get the support from people, if I only get that dream come true, because I know that people before me have had dreams and have made them true here. And if this is the line of the opportunities and the dreams, I have no idea why we're taking so long.
By hearing and experiencing and learning stories like these, the immigration concerns becomes more personal for us. And it is our hope that we can move the immigration discussion and conversation to further action. Stories like this, stories that Lucas and Maria have shared, help to make it personal for us. But there are over 11.5 million such stories in our country today. It is our hope that we can encourage you this day to make these stories your own, to learn more about them, to experience them, to share them with others, to write to your congressman, to write to your senators, to encourage action so that we can make a difference in the world today. We are, after all, a country of immigrants. We are a country that believes indeed in opportunity for all. We believe that we have been blessed ourselves and we have grown as a nation because of our own unique gifts and our own ability to share our identities with one another as community. We are God's people, and as God's people, we have a responsibility to get involved and make a difference. Thank you.